when we're talking about domestic violence? Are we talking about legal definitions of domestic violence when we're talking about behaviour that warrants criminal charges? Feminism has done a really good job of moving into a broader definition of domestic violence, which includes psychological and emotional abuse, which I think is a really important area. I don't think anyone would kind of question that. The problem when we kind of expand domestic violence into that area, especially when you're working with men, is that a lot of men will then explain to you, well, all that emotional and psychological abuse that you're talking about is stuff that their partners do to them, and that contributes a lot to what they get upset and angry about. And I guess when we kind of define it in terms of what are men doing and what are women doing, I have a real problem with that. I'm really interested in what do people do that's violent? When are people violent, whether they're male or female? When are people victims, regardless of whether they're male or female? I agree with the things that previous two guys have talked about. Those are certainly my experience. Those kind of incidents, those levels of explanation happen. But we also have another level where men's violence, and I guess I'd suggest women's abuse and violence as well, isn't just an instrumental tactic of power and control. It's actually due to impairment of the ability to regulate their emotions in intimate relationships and conflict. And that can become emotional and psychological abuse on both parts towards each other. And a lot of people, often two people in a relationship together, escalate their conflict with each other because they're not able to control their emotions and deal with issues. Of course, when that kind of reaches a point where it becomes physical violence, of course, the male's greater strength is going to give him the edge, and the woman is more likely to end up a statistic in a hospital or a morgue, and I don't think anyone could query that. But I think it's important to understand the kind of issues and the levels of emotions that are happening in those conflicts between males and females, and that women's greater skill, possibly, in being able to express themselves emotionally can give them an edge in arguments with men that men who are having trouble regulating their emotions have trouble dealing with, and may respond physically to that kind of thing. I don't want to spend a lot of time taking up too much time, but those kind of issues can be men who have been hit over the head with a bottle because they've accused their partner of having an affair or discovering their partner having an affair. I've had guys whose partners have attempted to knife them while they're holding a baby. I could go on. There are certainly a significant number of serious kind of assaults that would warrant criminal charges, and indeed those people who've been referred to me by docs have had those charges. But I think it's important to expand that out, to look at the emotional and psychological abuse. I think I'd better leave it at that point, but I think that's really important.